Good to go?
Steven's trying to get hooked up.
Yeah, okay. All right, everybody. It's 9:30. Dan Truckey's on, he's on the phone, and he's trying to get him linked in, but as we're going along here, he'll get him linked in. So, what do we want to do? Start with pledge of allegiance?
Of course.
All right.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's nice to see there's so many faces here. Thanks for coming. We'll do the roll call.
Yes, sir. We should show that all members are present. Mr. Truckey is participating by phone today, and so as part of your review and approval of the agenda, you should recognize that fact and allow, as part of your motion, for him to participate due to those unusual circumstances.
I make a motion that we allow Dan to participate remotely.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Mr. Chairman, at your discretion, I know public comment and approval of the agenda would be next. We're actually also conducting an audit selection committee meeting today. The statute is similar to that as it pertains to engineering selection. The good thing is we only got one proposal, and so it is not terribly complicated in that regard. So if you want to, if you'd like to take the approval of the agenda, public comments, and then we'll come back and deal with that audit selection item.
Okay.
Are there any additions to the agenda, any changes to the agenda? If not, you can entertain a motion to approve them as submitted.
Motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for that. That takes you down to public comment.
Public comments. I wanted to recognize Lindsay Case and his wife are here, and they've got to leave early, and he just wanted to give us a little quickie on what's going on with him.
Well, good morning, board, team, and neighbors, fellow investors. I'd like to just be very happy to share with you, we were approved yesterday for 109 lot rezone. And the next phase will be doing after the county commissioners get it from the staff. We'll forward this to the county commissioners, and then that perhaps could be even into January, and after that time, we'll begin doing the draft on how the 109 lot layout will look, and begin to start the homeowners association draft documents so we know how the operation will occur later on. So that's all. Happy to say it, and I'm still available at any time for anyone who ever has a question to call. When you have that question, so anything.
Does anybody have any questions for Lindsay while he's here? No? Thank you.
Great, thanks,
Steve?
Lindsay. Yes.
Now that you have the approval of the change, what are you planning on, when will we see dirt moving?
We have to wait till county commissioners approve it, that'll be January.
So yesterday's approval wasn't really, well,
Yeah.
Planning Commission.
It was almost any legal, well, Mr. Tony explained the nature of what yesterday was compared to the county commissioner.
okay.
But as soon as they I've been told that potentially it could just be a consent item, and it's done. Once I get that notice, then we'll be spending time with our same engineer team that you all have done at the homeowner meeting, and begin to sketch out what the 109 lot layout will look like. And then at that time, we'll begin to draft. Francesca and her team will begin to draft what will the homeowners association agreement look like. And it'll be mirroring much of the obligations that were described in my purchase agreement. And that's really how it all merges. So there's nothing hidden, it's all part of the 18-month to 2-year process and hit the big home run now. So I just am happy to say that, and I'm happy to say even the POI value is going to start going up. So all the best.
Thank you.
Coming back to your motion, just a brief comment. The action yesterday was by the Cuyahoga County Planning Commission, which makes a recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners.
Right.
The Board of County Commissioners, as Mr. Case mentioned, is the final entity that decides. And that hearing date Mr. Case indicated was in January. Then that sign that's out there will be obviously revised if it's going to be a January date, because I think right now it has a December date, the one that was up on Union Road.
Has both,
Pardon?
has both dates.
Yeah, that's correct. And so that'll, and
That was the big hurdle though, because after this, he shouldn't have to make a lot of changes. Those changes would have came before this meeting.
typically, the planning commission will have their comments and
Yeah.
suggested edits, and staff would, so,
Yeah.
you know, and when we see the results of whether they've made any changes, like, I can quickly check.
All good. All right, we're still open for comments. Anyone have any comment? Sir, could you come up, please?
I have a health concern in the community. For those of us who walk at night,
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you get your name?
Sherry Winters, 170 Newport.
Thank you.
There are a lot of us who walk at night. I'm out with my dog, other people are on bikes, people returning home, and I have been sprayed 3 times by Kish spray at 8:30 in the evening.
Okay.
Now, I spoke to Mr. Kish last year privately and indicated that this was happening, and he said he would change the timing. That has not happened this year. Last year it did. But this year, any of us who are out in the evening, and to me, that's still evening, it's not late at night, 8:30. And I think I'm risking the health. My health is the health of my neighbors and the health of my animal. And if something happens and you become ill, guess who's responsible?
Just a little bit I know about the spraying is it's been suggested that the spraying be done earlier in the evening because that's when the mosquitoes are the most active.
It's also when a lot of people are most active.
I
There are people
understand.
out barbecuing, there are people out meeting, having a drink together. There are neighborhood groups that have a weekly dinner together. Come by, boy, you got 10, 15 people in the space this big.
Okay, and I clearly understand what you're saying.
You got a solution?
What's that?
Have you got a solution? Yep.
Yeah.
Suggestion?
Do it when people are asleep. Do it early in the morning, which has been one of the suggestions, like 5, 6 in the morning.
But
I would like to work.
as a devil's advocate, the chemicals are not going to work nearly as well after dark when the mosquitoes aren't active because it's a contact spray.
Well, maybe there's other kinds.
Do you want to talk? Probably not.
I would, Steve, could I say something here?
Dusk. I'm not doing it, so he was told to do it at dusk. That was the last time we agreed.
It's in Kish on the truck.
Yeah. That's not mine. My son.
Dan, you had something?
I do. On the agenda here, we're going to be going over that offer or the interlocal agreement with the mosquito spraying district. All right,
Okay.
if we switch to the mosquito spraying district, that is a different type of spraying. Some of that spray doesn't even hit the ground. They use different things on the ground. We may be taking care of that problem if we switch over. If not, we are with Russ, and this type of spray he uses has to be sprayed in the evening or right in the early evening when the mosquitoes come out, or like you said, it's not useful. So maybe that'll change with the mosquito district when we get into that discussion later.
Okay, we'll bring that up a little bit later. If you can be patient with us. Thank you.
I don't think your health concerns are not warranted. I mean, I understand your concern for them, but that spray doesn't even kill the moths. You know what I mean? It's specific for what it kills. It doesn't kill all the bugs, all the insects that are flying around. You don't have toads with 3 heads running around. You're not killing the toads. You don't have any dead birds. You know, nobody's showed me anything that this is harmful to the environment in any way. And it's the same product that the county uses. So
I'm not arguing about the product, I'm talking about the application when there are people outside. And there's no place to move to get out of the way when the cloud is spreading.
Okay, thank you. We'll address that.
Steve,
Anyone
one more
else?
thing.
Go ahead, sorry.
I have one thing. Did Ray Bearfield from Collier County Waterkeepers come to the meeting? Is he there?
Waterkeeper?
It doesn't look like it.
Apparently not.
Apparently not. Okay, then we're good. All right, thank you.
Okay. Sir?
Yes. My name is Eric Gattuso. I'm at Orchid Cove, 25094-101. We have is the CID responsible for our lighting outdoors, the big light poles and things like that? And the lights in the street lights?
Here's the thing, the Orchid Cove has different street lights than the rest of us do. When they put that in, they wanted a fancier one. So at that time, there was an agreement made that they would pay the difference between the regular ones and the upgraded ones. And then at some point, there was something about a lawsuit over, or discussion about they weren't getting something that they should have. But so that agreement sort of went away, and in place of it, they were letting us use this here. But the basic agreement is that, and I know they've been pressure washed, but that's supposed to be up to that community.
Okay, the reason why I ask, we have a light that's number 15 that goes, it's on, and then it goes off, and then it goes on. And I was wondering who was responsible for replacing the light bulb in that light bulb.
Joyce?
Steve, actually, you just call LCEC and they come out and they repair them. That's what I've always done.
Okay.
The LCEC will come out and fix it.
And I wanted to bring up that same thing too, because I came in during the night last night, and the lights for the big sign at Newport there are not, I mean, this community is dark, really, really dark. I think we need to trim around the lights, the yard lights themselves. I think we have to have SOTA come out and do some trimming. Unfortunately, there's a few palms right in them, so, but yeah, we don't have enough light.
Then I know what to do now, so thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else?
You can fill it out online too, you need the form.
I found out all that, so.
Okay, public comments closed then. Approval of the minutes. Tony, I'm sure you've got a few.
I'll double check. I think I only had a couple this time. If I may, on page 3, line 15 at the end, border, there's no A in border in this context.
Okay.
So it should be B-O-R-D-E-R. Maybe my math, I didn't pull my calculator out, but on page 4, line 33, when the millage is indicated as being .663, and that's $16 for every $100,000, that doesn't seem right.
No, it doesn't.
I don't know if it's $6 or 60, I didn't do the math, but it should have 663 in there if it's per $100,000.
So that would be like $66.
Yeah, so that would just be a double check, I would suggest.
Okay. Probably a typo.
And I've never had any typographical errors in anything I do.
Yeah, I know.
I'm looking at, and those are my last suggested edits, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Anyone else have changes in the minutes? I, for one, would like to thank Lisa and Neil's company here. These minutes are really good. And Deb, sorry, Deb. Yeah, these minutes are great. And they are on our website, so anybody wants to read them, they're there. Motion to approve the minutes?
Make a motion, we approve.
Are you making the motion?
No, he just did.
Oh, okay. I'll second
Kevin,
it. I'll second it.
all in favor? Aye.
All right.
Her name is Kinsey. In our office, is the training starter.
Sorry.
Thank you.
I found it.
Mr. Chairman, that sort of takes us down to the manager's report, and at your discretion, if we could, the Florida statutes do require that the board independently solicit proposals and evaluate those proposals for district auditing services. In this case, it would be a 3-year audit term and then options for renewal at the discretion of the district. We only got one proposal, that's Grau and Associates. On background, let me just share with you, they're sort of the 800-pound gorilla in the market for district audits. They have almost 300 clients in the state of Florida. Boca Raton-based firm. They only do district audits as their core business proficiency. I put in front of you the proposed fee schedule, which is very reasonable given the fact that you've got 2 funds. Here you've got a utility fund as well. Offices in Boca Raton, 13 CPAs on staff with the firm, so they come highly recommended. The fee is in accordance with what I would expect it to be, and with that, if you would entertain a motion and a second to select Grau for the next 3-year period to be your independent auditor.
Any issues, Tony?
No, man, it's typical. And
Okay.
again, and the agreement will have the usual public records, the e-verify, and the language in there, whether or not it's subject to automatic renewal after the initial 3 years.
Anyone want to make a motion?
I just have a question. Is that the same company that we used previously with Premier?
No, they chose not to propose. They did. We spoke to them, and we also spoke to a local firm, the Phillips Group, and neither one of them submitted a proposal.
Okay, it's good it's not the same company. That's
Make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept the CPA proposal for audit.
Got a second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
The next item is several updates. The first one is the engineering services agreement. As you know, the board had selected the local firm of Agnoli, Barber, and Brundage as the district engineer subject to contract terms. We've had a little hang-up with them over insurance provisions. I was advised day before yesterday, Tony had suggested increasing their professional liability insurance to $2 million per individual claim. Most of them are $1 million. Tony's reasoning was good, and I'll let him elaborate if he thinks that it's important. Given the fact that some of the exposure or risk here deals with a utility plant and operations, Tony was a little more comfortable with a $2 million individual professional liability claim. So we need to get that resolved.
Are they pushing back on it?
They did.
Okay.
They do not currently have a $2 million. They do work for other municipalities in the county, Collier County, and their rationale was if it's good enough for the city of Naples and Collier County, you know, we don't want to have to spread that across our customer base that we have. I will not disagree with Tony's reasoning, but I kind of need the board to.
Is it a deal breaker?
It sounds like it is an engineering firm perspective. Again,
I mean, for us.
no, it's not a deal breaker, it's a policy decision.
Okay.
For the board to make. And my role is to advise the board and try to look out for the boogeymen that can happen down the road. And when you're looking at capital projects that can be extensive dollar-wise, and if there's ends up being a design or construction issue, claims are made, and a claim has been made against their policy. Nowadays, with cost of construction, I'm seeing it, by way of example, one of my other districts did a water meter replacement project starting in 2014. It ended in 16. The total cost for that project was under $2 million. There are 2,000 more meters today. That district is planning on a new meter replacement program to take all 8,500 out. The projected cost for that in 25-26 is going to be $11 million. So the cost of projects have gone up considerably. But again, it's a policy decision. You know, if other entities are comfortable with $1 million, the board is not abusing its discretion. It's reasonable to say we won't find an engineering firm unless we agree to the $1 million versus $2 million coverage. So it's a reasonable business decision that the board can make.
And we can always break up our projects so that they don't end up at $1 million, you know, that high.
Understood, that's one, yeah. You can legitimately, break up projects as long as you're not doing it to avoid or evade the competitive solicitation requirements.
Right.
And if it's under $1 million, between 500 and $1 million, you're going to be required to do competitive solicitation anyway, so that's a good approach.
Tony,
So again,
question.
I'm mildly opposed, I'm just looking at it from the standpoint of what I recommend.
Is there any type of like supplemental insurance we could carry?
No,
That's
this is
what I was gonna
professional
ask.
practice coverage is what it
This
is.
is errors and omissions on their part for matters related to design
Right.
or, things of that nature.
And we had that happen here when they built that reclaim thing out there that was over $1 million. It was no good,
Yeah.
but we never went after it.
Yeah, and again, $1 million is reasonable coverage, I've just always looked out
That's
for more
pretty
coverage.
standard, yeah. But I understand.
The board, it would not be using its discretion, would be properly exercising its fiduciary obligation if it agreed to the $1 million. And as Annalise said, when you do the projects,
Just
you look
manage
at
the
the
projects
scope.
better.
In order to save a month's time, if you are satisfied, or the consensus, if you would entertain a motion that would allow and authorize the chairman to execute the agreement at the $1 million mark, then we won't have to have final action next month.
Any final discussions? Dan, anything?
No.
So I make a motion that we accept $1 million.
I'll second that. All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
All right.
Next up, today, at your meeting last month, you received a proposal, an update from the Mosquito Control District. Immediately following that, I sent correspondence back to the executive director. I asked him to get with his team and give us a fee proposal for what a typical application would cost so that we could establish a budget. He said that he would do that. He said initially he hoped to have it for today. Sent a follow-up with him yesterday. They're very interested. Obviously, the back half of this will be the annexation of this community into the district. So I don't actually have a per application fee estimate from him yet, but I'll stay on him and we'll get that.
Okay.
Well, at least we could get like a monthly. We know what our monthly is, so.
We do, but in turn, he's dealing with aircraft and whatnot, so I'm trying to box them in a little bit. Like if they had to come down here, I want to know what an aerial or a ground treatment would be in terms of, an hourly rate or a per application rate. It's obviously going to be substantially more than what we've been paying.
But it may be more effective.
It might not be as frequent too, that's why.
Right.
So we could do.
Well, that's the risk we're going to run, you can't.
Well, we may want to send a board member over to some of these other communities that they're doing and ask them, how they feel about it.
There's only one, and I've done that. It's the Ave Maria
Yeah.
Stewardship District, and they're in the same boat that you're in. And their interlocal agreement is just on a time and materials type basis. They are substantially larger than this community. I think we're about 300 acres here. That's what I told them for planning purposes, about a half a section total, both north and south of the trail. And I hope to have that really, I had hoped to have it no later than December the 1st, but I'll stay on him and see if we can't get a fee from him.
But Goodland and Marco, are they part of Mosquito Control District or are they
They are.
special? Oh, okay, I thought they were special.
And I think that was in part of the enticement to them. You are only about 6 miles northeast of Goodland. And so, if they're sending aircraft down and they're, spraying Marco Island and Goodland, I would hope that we get you sprayed at the same time as opposed to having to fly all the way out here from Naples.
Right.
Because it becomes a function of engine hours. The next item that I have today.
As long as we're on, hold on, as long as we're on the mosquito spraying business. All right, let's address that gentleman's question when he came up. So Russ, how many days a week are you spraying right now?
Normally 3, and I think it's going down to 2. And they didn't spray.
Okay.
They didn't spray because it was so windy on Wednesday. So
All right, so what days are you spraying?
Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Okay,
But I think-
if we posted that time, Monday, Wednesday, Friday at, it's going to change as the daylight changes, but can we just put a notice out as to those 3 days, what time you're gonna spray so that people can plan accordingly?
You tell them the time. I mean, you want it at 8:30 or you want it 9:30?
No, that's,
No.
that's dark now.
Yeah, I know.
What time is it dusk right now?
5,
Yeah, well,
5:30.
yeah.
4, 6, for sure.
6, yeah, at 6, it's getting pretty dark already.
Okay, so you'd like to spray about 5:30, 5:30, somewhere in there?
Well, he's not doing the
I'm not
spraying.
doing it, so you just gotta let him know, I guess. Or you tell me what time. I think there's a lot of people walking at
Yeah.
dinner time.
There is, there is. The only other alternative would be in the morning, and I don't know if he's available then, is he?
I'd ask him. I can ask him. I don't know if it's feasible or not. Maybe he'd rather do the morning. I don't know.
Okay.
There's a lot of people walking in the morning.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm sorry, you're not gonna
doomed
keep
either way.
everybody happy. Yes,
Yeah,
I know.
yeah, you're right.
I agree with that, Russ. The trouble is the spraying that we do is effective right when the mosquitoes come out and not an hour later. So
Yeah.
if we want to get the mosquitoes, we have to spray when that spray will take them out.
Well, you let me know if you want to change it. If you want it earlier, I'll tell them. Later.
I don't know what to say. There's, I mean, if you're damned if you do and damned if you don't.
Yeah.
Either way, it's not.
You got any suggestions?
I just want to remind you that although Mr. Kish said there's no cost of damage, people said the same thing about Agent Orange. And I don't know about other people in the room, but I've known a lot of people died of it.
But do you have any suggestions about when we should spray?
Mr. Chairman?
Or if we get a notice?
If when the folks are speaking, if they would be kind enough to go to Red X, we want to make sure we get the good audio for all those that are.
You're right. You're right. So please, if you got comments.
We went through this last time.
Sam was here.
Sam was here, 231 case, and you know what I'm gonna say. We had 2 entomologists come in and they told us the time to spray is in the evening, not in the morning. To be most effective, it's gotta be in the evening. So if you wanna change it to the morning, you're gonna reduce the effectiveness.
Okay, good information, thank you.
So,
I say no change. So you want to keep it 8:30, 7:30? What?
I thought it had to be at dusk.
Well, that'd be 7:30, rough and tough, right?
Well, sunset is
A
now,
lot earlier than that.
yeah, it's happening like 5:30, 5:40. Sunset.
Well, yeah, but see,
So we could,
you're gonna have people eating out on their lanais when it gets cooler, and that's gonna,
Well, if we're gonna do that, then we could just as well spray in the middle of the night.
yeah, well, I don't know.
It doesn't
Tell
work.
Right.
Why bother? So I guess if we post when it's gonna be done, it's gonna be every Monday, Wednesday.
If you had an
and Friday.
exact time, then everybody
Yeah,
can
well,
just stay in during that
You-
time.
Pretty soon it's gonna be done. I don't know if well, I guess it depends on the rain and the mosquitoes and whatnot, but I know we used to cut back to just twice a week. So, but the time would be the same, you know.
well, the
You guys
time will
let me know.
rotate,
So we
the
post
time will rotate with sunset, with the dusk. So just tell them that we'll spray on the days we're gonna spray at dusk. And
Unless
they
it's
can
really
expect it at dusk.
Yeah. Okay, so you want it, then it's earlier now. You're gonna want, say 6 o'clock.
As long as it's not windy.
Yes.
Say a time.
Well, again, dusk is.
Say that?
Don't say a time.
Because it changes.
Okay.
Change it.
Yeah, okay, well, what do you guys consider dusk?
When it's getting dark.
Ask the
When
attorney.
it's getting
Ask
dark.
the attorney, he knows.
I don't know, but I'm looking at a time, Dave, it talks about twilight, so it's even better. But that's, you know, the twilight time is, I don't know what civil twilight is versus astronomical twilight, but
Yeah,
civil
but I mean, if it's
twilight.
cloudy, it gets dark earlier, I mean, God, so it's gotta really be kind of a time.
There's a monthly average for every month right here. Tells you what time sunset is. Changes every month.
Okay, so that's what you want, sunset.
So-
All right, well, that's easier.
Okay,
That's got a set time. Sunset has a
Oh,
set
what
time.
days?
Monday, Wednesday, Friday, unless we, you know,
unless we discontinue the Friday.
right, or discontinue one of them and go, you know.
Sure,
The
if
middle
it's
one out.
windy on one of those days, it'll be on Friday. If not,
Yeah,
Monday and Wednesday, or how about Monday and Friday?
Monday and
Well,
Friday.
whatever
Monday,
you want.
Friday. Monday, Friday.
yeah, if it goes down to Monday, Friday.
People should know
Okay.
when it is.
Just to, Steve Gunther, 2577 Peacock Lane, 202. Just if you could, I think will alleviate a lot of complaints, just a suggestion, please post it. Say, we're trying to spray at the most effective time, this is the most effective time, and these are the dates that we're gonna be staying. And just put signs up on both sides of the street so everybody knows.
So we'll have to have some signs made. Kevin, that's up to you.
Like the boil water sign or something?
Okay, we got that covered?
Okay.
All right, let's move on.
Next item that I have is to request your authorization to transfer your bank services agreement. I spoke to you last month to see if we might be able to tag on to the Board of County Commissioners contract. They are in year 2 of a 5-year agreement with First Florida Integrity Bank of Naples, formerly the First National Bank of Naples. I think really offer outstanding service and a very comparable rate. The current effective rate is 95% of the U.S. Treasury rate as it's reported daily in terms of the earnings on your funds. That would be about 5.1% in today's analysis, which to me is awfully good. The fact that they are a regional bank, but Naples-based, from a service perspective, I think is important. Valley Bank, who is your existing banker, I don't really have a relationship with them. I can tell you on one occasion, we had a lot of problems there, an Orlando-based bank, and just had some issues in terms of trying to make what I thought was a pretty simple decision.
Can you bring us up to date on the savings account versus the checking account?
Yes, in terms of either bank, your existing bank, whether it's in the money market account or what I call the cash accounts for either the general fund or the utility fund, the rate's the same.
Good.
So there was, we talked briefly last month about the possibility of maybe having a sweep account or something like that. Under the current structure, that would not be necessary because all the different accounts are earning the same rate of interest, and that would remain the same going forward.
Very good, thank you.
So we need a motion?
Please, I think you'll be
Let's just
pretty
do
happy and keep the money here in Naples as opposed to sending it to
Want to
Orlando.
make a motion?
I make a motion that we transfer to First Florida Integrity Bank.
Second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right.
Item G, today you've already received an update on the parcel 13 development. We are in the process of uploading, if we haven't already, the entire petition that is on its way to the county commission to the website for people who might be interested. It's pretty thick, it's about 300 pages thick, but it might even be better if we can just pull the executive summary out of that. I think people can go to the county's link if they want to look at the 300-page application. Final 2 updates. In the next utility bill, we will be sending a request for people to voluntarily give us their personal email address. There will be a little disclaimer on there that just indicates that once received, it constitutes a public record. So in the event that a solicitor or someone from a marketing perspective asks for that, we would have to give them that. And so Tony's going to help us craft a little disclaimer on there, but we are going to, again, following up from last month, we'd like to have our own database for communication purposes so that we could send blast emails out to the community, either of an emergency nature or just routine information nature. And so that will go as a supplemental mailer in the next bill. We'll ask them will they have the ability to do that online, or is there actually a source document that they'll mail back?
Well, they can do it online. Links from the POI website into the community billing site. You can go into your account.
Very user-friendly, and then we'll capture that for blast emails going forward.
So then, could we have a way where a resident has something in particular that they would like to see blasted out, that they could give it to us, or is this something that we should just keep for board work? You know what I mean?
I don't think you should.
Yeah,
Okay.
for privacy reasons or to minimize our getting in disputes
Okay.
There is no
within the
privacy.
community, I think we want to go
Yeah,
slow on
but you had
that.
to request it, so.
Okay.
But that, I mean, that's the risk that you run if they're.
Go.
Just as add on to the first thought, not that thought, was we have created a template for individuals who wish to have their information confidential and exempt. There are a number of exemptions in Florida statutes. For example, I, as a former assistant state attorney, can request that my information in the clerk's office, property appraiser, everyplace else not be disclosed, or be my home address, etc. And we have a form for that to say, okay, I want my information considered exempt and confidential. Here's the category I fall into. So we have that form that can also go along, because some people may say, I'm a firefighter, or I'm a former prosecutor, and I don't want my home address known. And we'll provide that to Kevin to have that as part of this process.
So on this thing, you're not automatically opted in? You have to sign that you're willing to go in, or is it the other way around?
You have to sign in.
You have to opt in. So unless you opt in, you will not be on it, so.
And if you opt in.
So that means you have a conscious choice as to whether or not you want to do it.
And if you opt in, but you believe you qualify for one of the exemptions, you would mark that off. So we would maintain the database, we'd be in the district, and the
Okay.
board members could see it.
All right.
But they'd be exempt from the public seeing it.
Thanks, Steve, for your work on this.
Yes, sir, that was my only comment. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Last update I have under the manager's report today, as part of your work plan, this year you have a utility rate analysis that is scheduled to be underway and under contract in January. We had hoped to use Russ Wire's firm. Russ does not have the capacity currently to do that, so he's taking a pass. A little disappointed just because of his history here. So I used the county utility director to introduce us to the county's utility rate analysis company. I put a little correspondence in the backup here. I hope to have a proposal and agreement to present at your December meeting so that they will be actively underway in January, so that you will have the results of their recommendations before your budget workshop in May. So we're looking out on the horizon. I wish that Russ had the capacity to do it. Your rate structure here is unusual just because of the fact that you're heavily subsidizing the system with non-ad valorem assessments. The other firm, Raptelis, Orlando-based firm, very large. They've been the county's utility rate analyst for over 25 years. So again, they have knowledge of your system here and some other, I'll call them sub-regional type systems, but they've never done any work here. But my goal is to have a proposal from an alternative firm to keep this thing on schedule when I see you in December.
Anything new with uni billing, getting at the ACH part?
Our next conference, is it next week or the first week in December?
Early December.
I hope to have a update from them with respect to ACH. When we used to meet with them weekly in a big teleconference. We're down to meeting with them just once a month now, and so the first week in December, I hope to have an update on that.
Now, was it, I can't remember, if it was Sunrise or Sunset K on the Newport side, got a hold of me and they had a bill, a utility bill that was like $21,000 and they were questioning it. And they also sent me an email on there where their management company was saying, well, you guys did some cleaning there too. I don't know if it was sidewalks or roofs or whatever else, but they wanted us to look into it. I mentioned it to Mitch. We'll have to figure out what's going on with that.
Are we aware of that?
He was gonna send me some info, I think.
Yeah, I'll get through that right away. I just want those people to know that they haven't been forgotten.
There is
They
a,
submitted the information?
I don't
Maybe they're not
believe-
interested.
No, they're interested.
Well, then,
We'll get handled, we'll get it handled, yeah.
yeah, share with us, you actually have a pretty good process in your administrative rules of procedure for dealing with that, or recalibrating meters, or verifying that, or water loss, and so, yeah, if you have anything that you can share with Kevin or I, then we'll put that into place.
I had another one call me the other day, and he ended up calling Muni Billing, and then Muni Billing said, well, we're not the people to talk to, and they sent them to your office. And then whoever answered at your office said, well, where are you getting our phone number from? And it just was kind of that back and forth. I don't know what we can do to clear that up a little bit.
We've addressed it with them.
With
Very
Muni
seriously,
Billing?
yes,
Okay,
very seriously.
good enough.
We just, as an aside, we also had a little confusion over deposits. Deposits only apply here unless they were grandfathered and very, very old with tenants. New residents are not required to have a deposit on file with the district. That may be something you want to evaluate. It has never been a problem. But if we're going to look at our rate structure, you may want to consider the fact that, people can move in here and could conceivably run up a fairly large bill, and there'd be no deposit on file to be able to back charge that if there were an issue. We maintain a current deposit balance of roughly about $20,000, I think. That may also be some deposits in turn that we have on account with utility providers, but we're tracking that, and that'll be part of our scope of services with the utility rate company once they begin to work in January. Final thing I have today are the financials. I think these are meaningful because these are the preliminary and unaudited year-end financials, or those through the end of September. This district remains in a very strong cash position with almost $4.4 million in cash, $4,385,000 in cash across both your operating and your utility fund, your separate money market account of about $700,000 that is there. In addition, there were only $64,000 in payables on the liability portion of the balance sheet, which means that we're doing a really good job of processing the workflow on the invoice side. If you look over on the income statement, just for a minute, a couple of things that I think are important. This obviously has been a very strong year for you in terms of interest earnings. Almost $15,000 in interest earnings in the month of September on your deposits. Total year to date, $165,000. The original forecast at the time the prior year's budget was prepared, they only anticipated $2,000 in interest earnings. So obviously all of that flows through to the bottom line. If you look on the expense side of the equation, we've talked about this before. The only real issues in terms of overages have to do with professional fees for engineering and legal fees. You don't have a lot of control over the legal fee issues because of the litigation that is underway, and also the time spent in negotiating and reviewing those parcel 13 redevelopment documents. They're just, in Tony's defense, there have been a lot of billable hours that are there.
But I'm hoping that we're gonna
And those are all,
pass those on, right?
well, these are all prior to the most recent. These are during the course of the,
Oh, and the negotiations start with?
I think that was, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
but now we're,
It's been de minimis, relatively
Okay.
small.
good, thank you.
I'll go back and pull them out, but as you mentioned at the last board meeting, but the last few months, I've
Sure.
just been occasionally monitoring, but
Okay.
not extensive.
Yeah, again, and Mitch is going to talk about this during the utility update report. We have quickly undertaken some major equipment purchase upgrades to the wastewater treatment plant. And we had a placeholder in both the prior year's budget and the new year's budget in anticipation of that. But we're spending some really large sums of money there to upgrade equipment at the wastewater treatment plant. In turn, that'll help us with the DEP as part of the permit renewal. Flipping over to the utility fund, again, you'll see pretty strong interest earnings, even for that brief period of time. We move money in and out of these two accounts. The general fund is the main cash account. We move it over to pay utility-related expenses. Year-to-date revenues for both water and sewer were over budget. So, continued growth in terms of, I think, the community is just the revenue streams were strong there. A little under budget at the end of the year with respect to irrigation. It didn't rain a drop in Naples all summer.
Yeah, I don't know how come that is.
And I thought that was a little unusual, but again, those are metered sales. But the fact that we were $7,000 under budget, while it's not material on the irrigation side, it kind of jumped off the.
I'm wondering if our meters aren't more correct now than they were before.
Oh, absolutely.
And
For sure.
I think we were billing a lot more before that probably weren't necessarily going through.
That and the fact that you've got a great operator now, I just think the whole.
We've had him all along.
Program. Well, but, so what, you didn't change meters?
Sure we did.
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that, but, again.
Yeah, we put in all new meters and that's why we're seeing some of this.
Well,
That was done a few years ago.
Okay. With that,
Motion to,
year-to-date, budget performance, really strong. Cash position for a community this size, exceptionally strong, and you can entertain a motion to accept them.
just for one quick thing though, he's painting a pretty rosy picture of our cash on hand now. We got a lot of stuff to pay for, so we're not rich.
Yeah, but the reason that you have cash on hand is because you sold parcel 13.
Right.
I mean, were it not for that and the proceeds from the sale, it'd be a little different picture.
We got a lot of big number stuff coming up, especially if this FEMA stuff doesn't come through like we hope that it will. But anyway, make a motion to accept the financials. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. That's all of my report today.
Okay. Mitch?
I like the red X, I mean, perfect.
Just don't look up.
You're supposed to get up there on it. You're supposed to stand on it.
I know, right? There's one on the ground too.
Oh, is there?
Anyway,
Next
good.
year's budget, we got a makeup artist too, and
Oh, there
everybody's
you
gonna
go.
have to make
Perfect. That's awesome. Good morning. The water plant and wastewater plant, both, we met all of our requirements with the DEP. The reuse station, the one at the plant, is working. The one over on the canal is working, but it needs attention. Everyone's aware of that. We've talked about it for quite a while. The wastewater plant, we treated 2.44 million gallons of water. The water plant, we made and sent out 3 million gallons of water, and we distributed 7.9 million gallons of reuse. 960 gallons of chlorine used in October compared to 900 gallons the previous month. Had a few calls over lift stations in the last month, but it wasn't lift stations, it was in the collection system, so it was nothing to do with the stations, they were working. No odor complaints. All the parts that we talked about in the estimates for the work that we're going to be doing as a result of the DEP inspection and the permit renewal, everything has been ordered. Some of that stuff is starting to trickle in, except for the disc filter. You approved the disc filter. That I have not pulled the trigger on yet because you retained Whole Montez to do the engineering for that. And I just want to get their blessing before I tell them to start building that. And I don't foresee any hiccup there, but we just want to get that before.
Would you rather work with the new engineer on that, or without back you up too far?
To be honest with you, does the new engineering company, do they have a utility division?
I don't know.
I worked with a lot of utility engineers, but I did not realize that, or did not know that ABB even had a utility engineer.
They do a lot of utility work. I don't know that they would do design, plant design work. They would probably sub that out.
So,
And this was the only company that we could go with?
The other company, if you recall, submitted their proposal late and we declared them unresponsive.
Yeah, I was not aware that they didn't have an.
they may, I'm just saying, I've never worked with ABB.
I have to contact them later today concerning this insurance matter. Let me get them to elaborate on that. And if they do not have the resources there, you may want to take that into, long term, you may want to take that into consideration.
I agree. Okay.
So anyway, back to that. I don't foresee any issue with Home Montez. I think they gave you an estimate and they're working forward on that.
Okay.
And I know they've been in touch with the filter manufacturer and they were in touch with them previously. So when I brought you that price, it was based off of what they had already talked to the manufacturer about. So I don't foresee any.
So do you need our authorization?
I don't need your authorization on anything.
No,
You
you
already
don't.
approved
For the record though, what is the sum total of equipment upgrades and installation work that we've authorized?
That filter, I think, was 225,000, but I don't know the exact number for everything.
About 480, I
Yeah,
think.
just
in
under
terms
a
of
half
total
$1,000,000.
improvements.
Yes,
Well, we gotta do it.
absolutely.
So,
And all of that's been ordered minus the filter. As soon as we have the blessing on that, as far as the engineer, they don't tell us there's something difficult about it.
Okay.
Then we'll get that ordered. And if they do, then we can reach out to your other engineer and cross-reference.
Remember that we do have some of that built into a couple of the grants, and as they move forward, we'll know if that's going to work out. So.
Yes, I keep forgetting Dan's working in the background grants.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. The SCADA, they're done with that. That was all completed. Another thing I would like to do, so the SCADA now has the ability to run cameras. We were using ADP and I struggle with those cameras. We have a lot of issues. I would like to cancel that service because we pay a monthly service and just use cameras through the SCADA, which will cost us nothing.
Perfect.
Okay, so
I like that idea.
So you're gonna cancel ADP?
I would like to, yes. And that is it, unless you have any questions for me.
Oh, one quick question, just, the pipes that are going underneath of the highway out there, we've talked about a bunch of times. Is that something we need to get going on right away too?
You talking about the well filter?
No, underneath the highway, you know, where they go across?
Repaint.
Under the bridge.
Under the bridge.
So that is something that needs done. In my opinion, it's not anything that needs done today or tomorrow. I would say you probably should think to replace or repair those definitely in the next 5 years.
Okay.
But probably 3 years.
Maybe we could wait to find out how we're gonna make out on this FEMA stuff.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That's all I needed.
Rich?
Yes.
Hey, Mitch, before you leave, could you do me a favor and just explain to the people a little bit of what the SCADA can do now? It can do cameras, but maybe you can give them an idea of what we spent our money on.
So everything at the plant is computer driven. It's all ran by SCADA. The SCADA that was there was 12 years old. Of course, you know your computer at home, if it was 12 years old, it's outdated by now. So we just brought in new computer equipment, linked it to all the equipment to control it. Before we could monitor it remotely, now we can monitor it and make changes remotely. It is all password protected, so no one can hack it. We have the ability to, I actually had them install 2 cameras while they were there to see, because ADP, they will not allow me to remote in remotely and look because they said the internet's not fast enough. But with the new stuff, I can remote in and see everything now. So I can, if I have an alarm, I can even remote in and look at the screen from a camera, not only just to copy the screen.
And the SCADA system will will alert you when you have an issue and
Yes,
that type of thing.
we get alerts if there's an issue, absolutely. Yes.
But these aren't the cameras that survey the outside of the plant.
Actually, I had them do one in the building and I had them do one at the end of the plant just to see how it would work as a test. And those have been working great, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I can remote in off of my phone right now. As to where, remember the ADP, it would not allow me they said the internet wasn't fast enough. So I don't know if maybe, I don't know, it's above my pay scale why that works and why it doesn't, but it works.
Thanks, Mitch, you're doing a great job.
You're welcome, thank you.
Just one more note on that SCADA system. The SCADA system was covered or is being covered by one of the grants. So it was like $90,000, I believe, for the SCADA system, and we will be getting that money back. So that's kind of nice.
Thanks, Dan. Attorney?
Hey, Mitch,
Yes.
are you in communications with Dave? They actually, the DEP wants to see a physical list of the equipment that has been authorized.
It's already been provided to the DEP and to whole Montez.
Okay, thank you.
They have not only the list of equipment, but the order date, what's already been delivered and when it'll be installed.
Okay, I wasn't sure that got down to Dave's level, but
Yes,
if we
it did.
complied with that December 15th.
Yep.
Okay, thanks for that.
You're
Happy
welcome.
Thanksgiving.
All good. Tony?
Yes, sir. A couple of things. One, I have a meeting set up by Zoom with Richard DeBose, who's the attorney for Stella Mars. That's set for next week. The questions about the roads and all those issues that Stella Mars has raised in the past. And, excuse me, I'm hoping to have it finished by now, but intervening events. I know. Excuse me, I'm not just stuck in my throat. With regards to the records from PDM or Premier District Management and KLT, in response to my last letter that went out with a copy of a draft lawsuit, I received a share file link of 50 gigabytes that I'm having difficulty opening. And so I can't tell, we can't tell, and whether or not everything in there is everything that should be there. Because what I'm going to do is, after I get this open, send Neil and Kevin some of the emails I sent to KLT when he was district manager, and see if those are in those folders. If not, we know for darn sure then you don't have everything.
So when you send out public records, you don't necessarily usually send them unencrypted?
I'm not sure if it's encrypted, but there was a password, I understand it. And so our IT firm, I've talked to them, expressed my incredible frustration. I was even trying to download it onto a 128 gigabyte flash drive and then give that to Kevin. I couldn't do that, so.
I know, when I got flash drives from them too, I could open about a third of the files.
Yeah, I mean, I
never got any better.
Good thing I'm not a generally drinking person, because I've spent hours, and my billing on that is minimal because I don't bill for frustration. And it's been incredibly frustrating, so I'll keep you posted, Mr. Chairman. Steve, I'll keep you posted on it.
All right,
But I mean,
thank you.
and Kevin is just as frustrated as me. He has tried also to open it up with the password and everything that we have, so we keep plugging it.
We have a relationship with the clerk's IT
Yes.
director.
Yeah, he was great, by the way. He helped me on another matter, so have him give me a holler.
He is forensically qualified.
Have him give me a holler. Please do.
Okay.
Yeah, have him stop by my office. We'll make an arrangement. He came by once before.
Yeah,
Another
last
matter.
name's Brian.
Yep.
Okay.
You have anything else?
No, sir.
Well, that leads us to the engineer's report.
Well, wait, I just got some questions about, is it, we told people with the boat slips to come. Are any people here with the large boat slips here today? Because I have a question. When I looked them up, those slips, they're listed as condominium, and they're all homesteaded on top of that, each slip. So in the future, when we go through this, review of utility analysis, are we going to be able to consider them a condominium, like the condominium in Orchid Cove?
They are a condominium. I'm not sure how they're characterized in the condominium. I can't recall how they're characterized. And I think that's a good question for the rate consultant. From each standpoint of impact usage, how would you treat them?
Right.
And I think that's a good question for the rate consultant.
Because, I mean, I was over there and these boats are large. I don't know what their value is, $500,000 maybe, I don't know.
But these are the liverboards?
Yeah, the liverboards, not the little slips. That's all wax, but the tax that or the non-ad valorem that we get from them is $300. I mean, that's not what a condo pays.
Well, the different, again, and that gets started the analysis of, and that's part of what we're talking about is that
Right.
the non-ad valorem assessment is based upon the benefit accruing to a particular parcel. So you allocate the benefit to the benefited parcels. And it's different than a rate, fees and charges for consumption or availability, which are different utility sort of considerations. And so that's part of the analysis, I think, that was done in the past, performed in the past, was that the living boards have an impact on the utility system such that we assign X number of equivalent residential connections on the utility side, because of the characteristics. And if we're moving away or adjusting that process, that's another thing for the consultant to look at. How do we treat them from an equivalent residential unit perspective, maybe? I mean, Russ has already had that from the standpoint of the O&M general fund.
Right, yeah, I'm not worried about that.
And so the question is, do we then say, if from the utility perspective, do we have the same characterization? And or if we're moving away from non-ad valorem assessments paying the bulk of or a large part of the utility operation, that might become a relatively minor issue as opposed to saying, here's how we, the consultants, recommend you charge a rate differential for certain users. I mean, I don't know, that's something, it's a good question to keep in mind.
They have that?
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, again, that's a rate consultant's analysis. They
I
can
mean,
say-
yeah, because these boats are sitting over there, and to me, they're the largest source of pollution here, okay? They have the biggest impact on the environment, okay? And as we hit that spill, that's not good. So I just want to make sure, when somebody's living on one of those things, and they're paying to the county and to us total, maybe $600-700 a year in impact, I mean, that's it, that's all they're paying.
As far as impact on waterways and whether or not they are impacting the water quality, that's certainly not an issue for the jurisdiction of the district, that's the other agency. So to try to say, we, the district, take on the responsibility of monitoring water quality in the canal, and because we have users that have a potentially greater impact, we can charge more, but we don't engage in maintenance of the waters in the canal.
Well, like they have fire treatment, or fire protection, right?
Correct.
And I paid $2,500, and one of those $500,000 boats pays $64. Are they gonna only use $64 worth of water to put out a fire on one of those boats? You know what I mean? It's just,
We're gonna have
it's
to
not
go through all
equitable.
that when we do the utility.
Right, but that's what I mean, I want to make sure people are aware.
Now, one other thing that I've been asking him about, because I saw it in an old meeting minutes, and it's about when they did the large expansion over there, they were supposed to buy additional ERCs. I'm not sure that ever happened.
Yeah, and Mr. McNamee reminded me of that today, back when the issue came up about and I think also Mr. Truckee mentioned it to him, I found the site development plan amendment or PUD amendment way back when. For the liver boards, there was a letter from KLT on behalf of the district saying, there is utility availability, blah, blah, blah. Those units, that area is assigned X, I can't remember the number, X number of ERCs. Based upon what they're proposing to do, they need X plus ERCs. So,
I thought he had excess ERCs, I'm not sure.
right, so that's part of what, I'll give that to Kevin, that site development plan and that correspondence that's in the county's files for that development approval.
Right.
To Kevin and Neil, so they can look at it and say, we do have there's additional ERCs assigned or we do not.
And that's the other thing, I've been going back through the records, and you can see who owns what in ERCs for the most part. But when it comes to the marina, I'm not seeing that, how many they own, or who owns them, or any, it's a cloudy area, and we need to clear it up.
No, I agree, and I can't recall if in the correspondence that Cal had sent to Collier County or to the developers, engineers at the time, whether or not he attached a schedule providing the basis or rationale for the ERC number he had.
I think he said they needed like an additional.
7 or 8.
I thought it was even more than that, but I don't remember.
But it's not an insignificant number, let me put it that way.
Right.
But no, again, from the idea of having an assessment differential or a rate differential, that's what the consultants can advise you on. But I understand your frustration. The Florida legislature outlines the criteria for when somebody qualifies for a homestead exemption. or whether the saver homes.
Well,
Yeah, that can be very frustrating, I understand.
what I didn't understand what that was, it lists Prepmac as the receiver of the homestead, not the individual that owns the boat that's there or anything. I just don't understand how he gets a homestead exemption on every single slip.
That's a good question, we can ask the property appraiser, because they're the ones that make that determination.
We're gonna have to we'll probably have to have additional side meetings just to handle this utility stuff.
But, and if the board wants, we can just make a call, either Kevin, Manil, or myself, to the property appraiser and say, hey, can you explain the rationale for these parcels that are owned by an entity, a corporate entity?
Right, yeah.
For having a homestead exemption. That's a good point, as opposed to individuals. And then the question is, Kevin, you only have one homestead exemption, you only have one homestead.
Yeah, well, they did it on the whole value. I mean, I think in 2005, that thing sold for 3.5 million, and then Prepmac bought it in 2015 for $760,000. So.
Anything else?
No.
Tony, one question on that. When
Yes,
you're
sir.
when you're going through that, it'd be nice if you could find out if there were ever any ERCs with the marina. We're talking about the extra ones they were supposed to buy, but I don't know that we've ever established the number that they were to have when they built the place.
Okay, I'll double check, but I think Cal's letter outlined what they had and what they needed to have based upon the development, but I'll double check that, Dan.
Oh, one other thing too, you mentioned that they had another spill over there. I got a phone call from the dock master right away. I went over and I looked at it. They did a great job cleaning it up. They found the boat that caused both of the leaks. They got a hold of their insurance company, but they were all over it, and I believe that cause now is corrected. So that's all good.
Thank you. I'll perform that research, provide a brief memo to the board on what we find.
Okay.
The next
Yeah,
board.
you look up County Appraiser Newport Drive, and then scroll all the way to the back
And then
end.
I'll give them a call then.
Yeah.
I have been a property appraiser for
Old
30 years.
business,
Yeah.
drainage maintenance. Is that you?
That's me. I spoke to Soto yesterday. Next week's a short week, so the week after, we're gonna schedule and start working on the swales. So, that being said, did Mitch say, Mitch go?
I have a question on that. Who's paying for that?
The CID.
Why the CID? I thought the homeowners are supposed to, it's on the homeowner's responsibility to pay for that.
We have some
We
and
have
they have
swales at all
some.
guys.
We
We're
meaning
only doing
the
those.
CID, like the laterals, and on the very end, like say on my block, that waterway that goes between me and my neighbor on the very end that goes to the cement bunker, that's CID. Halfway down the streets, there's two laterals that go out. Those are CIDs.
All along.
Okay.
The ones in the backyards,
No.
that's homeowner.
Okay. So tell me this, on the CID right away, someone goes in and plants a tree right in the middle of it. Who pays for that to get that out of there?
If it's found that it's a problem, it would be up to the homeowner to remove it,
Okay.
yeah.
I just hope we're doing that, because
But
I've
I think-
heard in some of these easements that the homeowners have sort of taken them over and planted things in them. And
Yeah.
it seems like, I don't really feel like the CID and the community should be paying for something that a homeowner did. So I hope you're identifying situations like
Yeah,
that
if
and
it
charging back to the
interferes,
homeowner.
yeah,
Some
if
of
it
those-
interferes with the water flow, yes.
Some of those easements are utility easements for electric and whatnot. There's I don't know how many of them are actual waterways, in that
Okay, well, either
60.
way, it shouldn't be.
I got you.
Right.
Thank you.
But that's a good differentiation, a drainage easement or lake maintenance easement versus a utility easement.
Right.
As far as what activities we perform.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that there's a lot of those that, let's see, go ahead.
I don't want to bust your bubble, but if y'all will remember when we had the problem on Windward K, where the lateral blew out the back of the people's house.
Yes.
If you'll go to that meeting, we took over the maintenance of all the swales, because we didn't want people taking over the maintenance of the swales, because the swales are the responsibility, the maintenance of them was nebulous who it was. So we took them over. And because we wanted to make sure that they were done in coordination with the permit from South Florida Water Management, and they're done correctly. So if you'll go back to those minutes, you'll find that we took over the maintenance of all the swales in here,
On a
including the back, including the back.
Was that a referendum?
No, that was a board meeting, and it was a 5-0 vote to take over the swales so that we could start the maintenance on them. That's why in last year's budget, there was $360,000 for swales in the budget, which you didn't use.
We'll talk about that.
We have the swales, unless you take them out and get rid of them by vote, which is what we did, they're yours.
So do we have all the swales in Port of the Islands?
All swales in Port of the Islands.
Only those swales where the district has a drainage easement or if they're located within a district road right of way,
Okay.
in my opinion. Or where the district has an agreement to maintain.
All right, so we'll revisit it. In the meantime, we'll be doing the laterals and the end ones.
Yeah, we definitely know we have.
So,
By the way, not on this issue, but just real quickly, and Neil will double check, but Agnelli, Barber, and Brundage, I was checking their website, and one of the engineering services they provide, it's called Municipal Utilities Engineering. They do a master pump station for the City of Naples pump station. They're working on well projects for Collier County. As far as the description of the project is design and permitting of a new Tamiami aquifer well, replacing a prior one. Another project is a force main project where they're designing 3,200 linear feet of a parallel 12-inch force main. So, I mean, apparently they do have some utility work, but you will double check that.
They do. I think all of them, for certain structural engineering aspects of, if you were constructing a new plant or a new line at a plant, they're going to sub that out, but we'll verify that. Anything else, Tony?
No, sir.
We're done with drainage? Okay.
Make comments on the drainage?
Sure, come on up, Joe.
Morning, Joe Levy, 138 Windward K. So according to Sam, the CID is responsible for the rear drainage swales. I just want you to know that a lot of I disagree that the CID should take responsibility because that is a Pandora's box. It's a mess. A lot of those swales don't even exist. The easements are in the Gulf of Mexico because the way the surveys are done. So you can never get a proper alignment of these easements or these swales because they're not on anybody's property. The property that the easement is in is non-existent. It's in the ocean. So doing what you guys are doing now, where the main drains are, is probably the best and easiest solution to a lot of these drainage issues. When we start attacking the back, my neighbor's, his swale is in the ocean, his seawall or his pool is where the drainage should be, but it's not because of where the easement is. So that's just a total mess. That's just a total mess.
And going along with that, and I don't know if you guys even want to talk about this right now, but I, for one, would like to rescind what the previous board did on that particular thing.
Yeah, we gotta make sure.
Yeah,
I don't remember. I can't.
Yeah, what I would suggest is that the board find those documents, if they do exist, and then have it as an agenda item so that the public and those affected can have the opportunity to comment on it.
Can we do that at the next meeting?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And so, Sam, I guess if you,
will you look for the?
do you have all those documents that you're referencing, or?
They're in the minutes from, I'm not sure when it was. As I said, it was the time when
We hired Soto.
Yeah, we hired Soto to take care of that lateral down on Wimber K. We paid for it. And at that time, we discussed taking over all. So it was done in the regular meeting. So there ought to be, from the minute somewhere.
Is there a time frame? I hate to ask you
It was
that.
a summer, because it was rainy season.
Yeah.
Last summer.
I think it was last summer.
So summer of 22, 21, okay, well,
We paid for the Soto to fix it.
okay. We'll look for the last 2 summers.
Yeah.
It was last summer.
Was last summer. Only reason why, I once had an attorney I worked with in the state attorney's office, and I was working on a case, and he said, Tony, there's a great opinion that was issued a couple of years ago by the Supreme Court on this. And here's the name of the case. I looked it up, it was like 40 years earlier. So, I said, oh, back, I said, Jerry, it wasn't a couple of years, 40, he goes, oh, it's all relative. So that's why I was asking.
Was 4 years ago.
So you fellows with the Zoom meeting stuff, you have anything that you want to say to us, or?
I'm hoping everybody's enjoying it today. It's actually functioning the way it should. So.
What we would like to do is stand with the red X flag. What we would like to do is, thanks to Steve McNamee's worked with a whole lot on this, as has your management company. Dave Keyser's put in tons of hours. He was actually working with the engineers at the manufacturer, and I think it helped them with some work. What we'd like to do now is meet with you again to determine what your specific needs might be, what specific services might be offered, and then put forth a written proposal that you can examine and look at. And to be honest, we're also looking at the possibility of approaching other bodies that might want to use the service, because if you can establish that as a base, it helps reduce costs for everyone. And so that's where we are.
Now, am I right that this will be posted right after the meeting?
I can give you the link and you can post it or share it however you want.
Yep, it goes right up there. They simply go to the link, click on it, and it plays. So we'll look forward to talking with you in some detail, but again, I want to thank Steve and Good Management Company and Dave for really working this out and doing it with us today.
All right, thank you.
Alternatively, are we uploading this to their YouTube channel? Because there is.
No, I mean, I'm not uploading to your YouTube. I don't have access to your YouTube.
Okay.
So, again, from that link, you can download the whole video and ship it up there.
There has been an expectation that it would. We've kind of got a little depository there now, and so that's one of the things we can talk about when we see you again. And as we move forward, if we could, when you give us a fee proposal, I think it'd be helpful if we could have a base fee, and then, because I think this will be a pretty popular service to the community, and then kind of maybe a Chinese menu approach to adding additional features or things that might be nice to haves that are not essential to the main task, just to keep it affordable as we're getting on the ground here.
We talked to some people nationally and that do this. I used to teach the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, their management thing, and they're telling me that successful individuals are tailoring the service to the needs of each specific community, and one size does not fit all and will not work.
Understood. I think that takes you down to other public comment, Mr. Chairman, if there are any.
Deborah Jansen, Sunrise Cape. Just one question. Do you know if the people who are listening remotely can hear everything well?
Yeah, I checked with, Sam had somebody that was having a problem last time and checked with them. They said they're good, so, but, naplesmeeting@gmail.com. Send me a link if you're having an issue. We'll see if we can address it.
I can tell you right now, I'm remote today. The video and the audio are both way better than last time. It's very nice.
Steve Gunther, 2577, pickup line 202. Neil, at the last meeting, you said you'd be meeting with the county about the opportunity to turn over our 41 million.
Supervisor Baird and I have had that meeting set twice, only to be rescheduled by the chairman of the county commission. We've got a tentative date in
December 11th.
Okay.
By Zoom.
so we can have a report out.
I think so.
And the other thing I'd like to do, you know, we all pay county taxes the same as the people in Naples, yet we're not receiving the same level of service as far as our roads and things like that. This is something, Steve, you brought up when you guys we were appointed chairman a year or so ago. I know we've got a lot of other things that have been higher priority than that, but I'd like to try to get that back on the docket to try to, I mean, obviously the roads, it just doesn't make sense for a little community like us.
They're fighting to even get in front of the guy.
Pardon me?
I say they're fighting just to get in front of the guy.
Yeah, okay. We gotta keep going on that, I think. Just a request. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Other public comment? We're meeting early next time. The third Friday is the 15th. And so as we ramp into Christmas, if you'll just make a note of that, the third Friday is the 15th.
Now, we skipped new business.
I didn't have any additional, I'm sorry.
Do you want to update some things?
Right, okay. I went around and looked at the poles that had overgrowth, and I contacted LCEC. They said that wasn't their responsibility, so I'm gonna reach out to Soto and get a quote for taking all the overgrowth down around all the poles.
Could you also talk to him about making sure that the lighting, like on the signs and whatnot, are working? I think he does that.
The lighting on the signs?
Yeah, like at the entrance of, you know, next to the old realty office there.
Mm-hmm.
None of that stuff is lit up. It's dark as can be.
Okay, and then previous meeting, we talked about the wall. We reached out to J.C. Sanchez. He didn't return my call, but Steve, you said he did return yours and plans on attending in January.
J.C. has had some medical issues. He will be back in a couple of weeks, and we'll be able to get a hold of him then.
So I'm gonna suggest we table it until we do get a hold of him.
And I apologize, I was talking to Kevin earlier, I thought I had brought with me 11 by 17 printouts of the surveys that we received a couple years ago, they're dated 2021.
Right.
Even with all the papers I have, I don't have them, but I can email them to the board members and also bring hard copies.
Is there a pattern here?
What, of documents? Oh, it's contagious. Oh. That was good. That was a 3-point one. That wasn't the 3-point line, Steve.
Okay.
So I'll make a note to email those out to the board members. Again, you can see where the wall is, and where it's outside any viable easement and where it is on the property.
Good. Anything else? Lisa? Did you want to say something about what Carol Williams was dealing with? With Kevin? Or don't you want to do that?
I gave the list to Mr. Neil Durrell there, and also the attorney, and everybody here's got a list. She has made a list of code violations in the neighborhood, and we passed them forward to Neil so he could send them to the code enforcement people.
Okay. What's being brought up is the amount of boats that are being parked in people's front yards and trailers that are next to people's houses and so forth. There's getting to be a growing concern here about the perpetuation of this. My problem with the whole thing about Collier County Code Enforcement is they're the biggest violator that we've got in Port of the Islands, and they won't police themselves. So I don't know how far we're going to get with them. I mean, we keep trying, but like I said, they're by far the biggest violators in here, and they don't seem to care.
Although that is on the agenda, Mr. Baird and I have submitted to the chairman that we intend to get some action.
Very good. Anything else? Any other supervisor stuff? Come on, you gotta have something.
Just that,
okay.
Marina.
Dan, do you have anything else you want to bring up?
I do not. We are just continuing our work with FEMA and the grants and things as they move forward, and that's it.
Anything else? The meeting's way too short.
What about the sanctuaries?
Come on up. I'm sorry?
Those sanctuary signs that you.
Michelle Holloway, 25085 Peacock Lane. I was wondering if the sidewalks are done, because I believe Orchid Cove didn't get done.
There's still, isn't that supposed to happen? Who's doing the pressure washing the sidewalks? Kevin.
Yeah, we didn't include Orchid Cove.
Has it been done here?
No, not until
No.
December.
I would assume we should be doing our Orchid Cove, shouldn't we?
Well, when we.
Well, wait a second with that, because
Listed on the CID assets, so it should be included.
Go ahead, Dan.
all right, if we start getting into all the sidewalks, we're gonna have a way bigger bill. Because the only sidewalks we were doing were along Gays Drive where there's no houses there on the other side. They're within our easement, but they don't turn in and go do Stella Maris. We don't turn in and go do sidewalks in any of the other places. If we're gonna start doing that, we have to take another look at that because it'll be a lot more money.
The quote was for everything on that side, because it was under my understanding the sidewalks were just done on this side. We can revisit it, because you haven't even been here yet. Get him to come out and re-quote this side too.
Well, what are our sidewalks and
I thought they were only doing moldy stuff. I didn't think they were.
She's right. The big difference is that's all pavers over there. And I don't know what, I don't know, is that gonna blow out the sand in between the paver? I'm not that guy, so.
We have to take another look because in Stella Maris right now, we do our own sidewalks. We go out and pressure wash them ourselves.
Same thing with us. It's not that, we take care of Stella Maris South. Yeah.
You take care of yourself?
We take care of ourselves.
I do mine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do I.
Okay, Kevin, we'll put that on hold until we revisit it, and we'll take another look at it, I guess.
Or get going on what you got. Why hold it up?
Okay.
What do you think?
Works for me.
Agreed.
Okay.
While he's here, we'll have him quote the rest of the stuff needs done. 'Cause it's
Perfect.
a lot cheaper than the other one.
We can discuss that more as well.
Yeah.
I guess I thought you had done all those.
No, nothing's been done yet. They were, I don't think, backed up.
I'm just gonna make a request, with our financial position being as well as it is, and with Mr. K's project no longer on the back burner, but is getting ready to be put on the front burner, I really think that the board needs to look at getting the engineer to go ahead and start looking at the at pipes from the wellheads, and most importantly, the pipe from the water treatment plant to the residences, because it's a concrete asbestos pipe, and Mr. Case is going to have to cut into it to get the water to his project. Now, I'm not sure about the rest of you, but I don't like the idea of a 60-year-old friable concrete asbestos pipe being cut into, which could possibly put asbestos into the water coming to the residences. So I think that the board needs to really look at going ahead and get started on that particular portion. If you want to wait on the portion out to the wellheads, that's fine. But I really think you need to be looking at getting that from the distribution to the homes done before Mr. Case cuts into it.
Hang on one second. Dan, you've been working with those guys on that.
Yes, I can tell you where we're at with the section of pipe that goes out to the wellheads. That is leaking. We had another test company come in and find the leaks. There's about 10 of them in that pipe, so the gaskets are leaking. So we are what I would call recycling some raw water. But we are in the process right now of moving forward with the replacement of that pipe out to the wellheads because of the condition of that pipe. It took a pretty big hit when we flooded out last year, when the big trucks had to get back there for the generators and such. So we are going there with that one right now. I think right now, Kevin, you can help me with this. You went to the engineers to have them put together our cost repair versus replacement on that pipe so we can look at a new pipe.
Yes, they're gonna be doing that.
Now, my question was, where are you talking start to stop?
Well, if the distribution pipe that comes from the plant, it goes down by the old dormitory and then comes all the way out. That one is part of the pipe that needs to be replaced. That's the concrete asbestos pipe. Mr. Case is going to have to cut into that pipe to be able to run water to his
Could you come
project.
back for 1 moment, please, so we can get you on?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, Mr. Case is gonna have to cut into that pipe to get to his project. And the idea, as I said, I just don't like the idea of cutting into it's a 60-year-old pipe that needs to be replaced anyway. It's extremely friable. And you're gonna have to cut into an asbestos pipe. If there's a possibility, I don't know, I'm not an engineer, but if there's a possibility that we could get asbestos into the water line going into our residence, then we need to do something about that pipe before we get to the point where, so we put in a new pipe, put in a cut-in for Mr. Case, we don't have to worry about that.
Well, what do we do when we cut into it for Orchid Cove?
I have no idea when that was done, and not only that, it's not as friable as, that was 20 years ago.
Well,
it's not as friable as it is today. That's why it's on the end of its life expectancy.
One other question though.
Sure.
Didn't you guys make an agreement that that water line was gonna be moved from the outside to the road? So that was all gonna be replaced, and was there gonna be a cost share on that, or how was that gonna go?
You'll have to ask.
Well, I don't have the agreement in front of me. I think what would be helpful to have the agreement before the board, the next board meeting. They can see what the allocation of cost and your responsibility is depending upon how that site is developed. So I think that, again, I can't recall where pipes were.
When you signed off on that, you don't remember what you agreed to?
We agreed to cost share on certain things, and I think it was like 150,000, because Dave wanted to move certain things, and he wanted to increase the size of the roads, et cetera. But I know that pipe was not going to be completely replaced. That needs to be replaced.
Oh, okay. I was under the assumption it was gonna be replaced and moved over to Union Road, that whole strip.
But that was not I don't think it was that whole section that was going to be done. It was just going to be the section to Mr. Case's section. And then after that, it's our responsibility to replace the rest of that pipe.
So that'll all be done at one time?
Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
right.
And as I said, simply because we'll be cutting into it, if we have to move it and or replace it, I think we need to be doing something now before we get to that point to cut into that pipe.
And we gotta figure out whether or not he's gonna cost share on it, and he's probably not gonna cut into that water for another year and a half.
That's correct, but it's gonna take, it'll take, how.
Yes, I agree with
Permitting
you.
and stuff, it'll take a year and a half before we get there.
Well,
All good.
All right, with Kevin, we'll have the agreement in the next agenda packet so the board can see what the obligations are.
Well, if that pipe's near the end of its life, why wouldn't we be just doing a new hookup? Just leave that pipe there and drop a new pipe.
We very well could. We very well could.
We could. That sometimes, with that asbestos concrete pipe, sometimes the best thing is to leave it be. If you don't disturb it, we don't have to do remediation to take it out, asbestos remediation.
That's probably what we should do, is we should probably start focusing on this, to see how we're gonna do this. And get
We could tie that in, Steve. We could tie that in. The engineer did a bunch of work on the pump station when he came last time and gave us that report a few meetings ago that said that we still have to do the pump station because the pipe doesn't have the capacity alone. If we're going to replace that pipe and maybe tie it in with Mr. Case's replacement of his, we could look at making the capacity there so we don't need that pump station, which would save us some money on that end too. It also gives us time to try to wrap that pipe, a new section of pipe through there into another grant, future grants.
Okay, so how do you suggest we proceed with this?
I think it starts with engineering. I would like the new engineers to pick up that report from David on the pump station and the capacity we need at that, so we don't need that pump station. So I think it's an engineering thing. Once we get an engineer to take a look at it, the feasibility of it, and maybe a estimated dollar amount, we could try to put that into a grant next year.
Kevin, can you work on that for us?
Yeah, the process name is hot tapping or wet tapping, and so the asbestos under those circumstances would not be.
He's right.
exposed to air.
It's got to be done. We might as well do it now.
We can saddle on it.
Right. Yeah, let's just move along with this then.
Any other new business?
Yes.
You have more? Hang on one minute.
You're just gonna show me.
She's doing minutes.
Christmas lights, some people say, we don't have Christmas lights. So, with the help of Joe, we got some pricing to wrap the 4 trees that come in on Orchid Cove, to wrap 2 trees going into where the hotel is, and then getting 2 lit wreaths, 4-foot wreaths on this, just above the sign where you come in. And on the cave side, to wrap 2 big trees and 2 little trees. The whole thing came to $3,500, and they put them up, they maintain them, and they take them down. So,
If we want them taken down.
right, we want them taken down. So I figured we got a big enough crowd here.
We could possibly leave, we could possibly leave the wreaths and leave the light, or take the wreaths down, and leave the lights.
On the trees.
But that, you would like input from the whole community on whether or not we should do this.
So?
$3,500, does the community want to spend $3,500 on some Christmas decorations? How do you feel about it? Anybody opposed to it?
What trees on caves? Are you talking about the ones that are behind the?
We're not gonna get this on the tape if people don't use it.
I'm sorry. I'll ask again. What trees on Cave Drive?
2 palm trees on each side, and then the Christmas palms, those 3 little.
The question I have is, do we own those trees? Which I don't think we do. Those are part of they belong to Steve and JC.
They're on the outside of the wall. They're in the right of way.
There's portion, again, you need to look at that map, but it seemed to me like all the landscaping, the trees, et cetera, were inside the wall and therefore not owned by or maintainable by.
They're outside the wall.
That's what I'm saying, there's some that are outside the wall, but that's where the line is.
They're on the right of way.
They just want to figure out what we pay for it.
So, anyway.
And here, the finances are there, I would be all for it. I mean, Christmas is a great time of year, so. And so financially, I would look at it, the money's there and we can swing it, let's do it.
Anybody else?
I'm for it. I think our community is so dull when you come down the highway, you go other places, everything's so festive, and we look like we live.
That's why I kind of like the idea of,
Pick it up a little bit.
I kind of like the idea of leaving the lights up afterwards even.
I think that's a good idea, because I've seen other communities where they do that, they leave them up.
So,
All right.
we also,
Make more
last year I was
for
in Walmart, and they had Christmas trees on sale, they were like $100. And I think we bought them for like $3, so we were gonna put a couple of those out there, put lights on them as well, so. Put one over here, maybe one over here.
Want to make a motion?
I make a motion that we do Christmas lights this year.
Second it?
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye. Are you sure we get the lights, those are included, permanent?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can have the lights.
Thanks, Joe, for helping us on that.
We just, I don't want to be the Grinch, but I do all the Christmas lights at Pelican Bay, Pelican Marsh, Tiburon, the Bailey Resort. They won't be any better than the nearest reliable GFI circuit. And every time the sprinklers come on, it'll pop them off, and so we'll need to run down where the most reliable source of electricity is. And I will tell you, we leave them up until Easter every year at the Tiburon Ritz-Carlton because they love them. And typically they'll start to
wear out.
To wear out. I mean, they're very cheap, and in fact, they don't even try to save them. They just cut them down and throw them away. But typically they'll go at least until Easter.
Well, we can monitor that. they start to peter out, we'll pull them down.
Our interest payments cover that. Our interest revenue.
Anything else? Any other comments before we adjourn? Leanne?
I just wanted
Diane Fisher, 206 Newport Drive. You must have looked into the people moving into that building at the entrance.
Yes.
Because I saw something on next door that said that they thought their plans were falling through. I just wanted to thank them.
Okay, great.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Right.
That's a record.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Happy Thanksgiving, all.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, did we? Yeah, we just did. We just said, I said, let's go.
Hey,
Go home.
Don't
Yeah.
I missed it.